The long-awaited new beach volleyball from Mikasa. So before we get started, I just want to say I won't make much comment on the rollout of this ball from Mikasa. They've obviously tried to get it out before enough time before the next Olympics, so that's their prerogative. Very scarce at the moment. Even the professional teams are not getting as many as they need for trainings. But I wanted to give you guys a first touch. I've just laid my hands on this one. It's the one sample in New South Wales. So yeah, first sort of opinions and whatnot. Stock wise, we're probably not going to have solid stock till August, so don't get too excited at the moment. We may get some stock in April, where we will, but it will be very scarce, and we might even just have one sale per customer sort of thing, so that everyone can at least get their hands on it. And that ball as well will not be allowed to be used in competitions. They currently, I don't think that ball will have the Australian volleyball logo, and therefore it will not be acceptable to be used in any affiliated competitions. But at least you get your hands on it. So you might see in front of you, why the heck have we got an indoor ball here? So that'll be explained later as well, as we go. So what do we think? Yeah, picked it up. You can see the paneling is very similar to the VLS 300. Exactly same weight from what we can gather. The biggest difference, the finish. The finish is a shiny-ish finish, similar to the indoor ball. And I've been told that that is the non-slip when it's wet coating, so for sweat and whatnot. So to give it a little bit of grip even when it's a bit wet. So you can definitely feel that. It almost feels a little slidier as a dry ball. I'd say the VLS feels a little grippier. But I suppose the hope is that once it gets a little bit wet, it's going to stick into people's hands. Okay, so that's my initial thoughts. Dimples, yeah, I don't know if you can see, but compared to the indoor ball, it has a similar dimpling effect. Not as many dimples, and potentially not as deep, but there is definitely that kind of a dimple effect. As a general thing, if you're familiar with the indoor Mikasa volleyball, it feels like they've taken a VLS 300, a V200, and they've just fused them together to make this ball, okay? So, like if you blindfolded me, I'd be like, oh, it's a bit like a V200 feel. I can feel the dimples, I can feel the finish, but it's obviously got that kind of beach volleyball softness to it. And same inflation pressures as the old VLS 300. They've totally redesigned the valve, and I think that's in hopes that there'll be less faulty valves, which was maybe a little problem with especially the earlier VLS 300s. They have massive directions on how to inflate it on the ball, which is kind of ugly, but hopefully again that'll help people make sure that they're doing the right thing. The valve itself, I don't know if you can look, it's almost got a bit of a sealed sort of thing going on compared to the old VLS 300. You can see there's a big hole in the VLS 300 valve. The new ball, it almost looks like you can't get a needle in there. So again, I assume that's to kind of keep the sand out of there and to give it a little bit of extra protection. So we'll see how that goes, only time will tell. Haven't really played with this ball. Some feedback from some of the pros who've been playing and training with it. Very hard to set in the wind, very hard to control, very flighty off arms and stuff. So it's going to favor a more skilled player, I would say, by the sounds of it. One thing I did notice is, again, this is the only sample I've got, so is the roundness of the ball. So just in these joints, for me, there's quite predominant dimples in here and here. That might be something that will disappear once the ball's been played with a little, and it might become more round. But for me, it's a less round ball than the VLS 300 out of the bag, which is quite interesting. But again, that might be a little issue that as the ball is used a couple of times, that will forgive the stitching, or the seams will stretch out a little bit, and it will become more and more round in time, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. But that's probably our initial thoughts. That's the comments we've had. I've passed it around a few players, just local guys and girls. Yeah, that's kind of all their feelings as well. A lot of those guys play indoor and beach as well, so they were kind of like, oh yeah, this feels like a little bit indoory, a little bit beachy. It might make this sport more exciting. We talked about that a bit, whether it will make more teams want to play like, you know, the Swedish or the Qatari team, or throw that ball around a bit, jump setting. Yeah, so it might be what the direction Mikasa is trying to go in with this ball. Yeah, and that's about it for us. We will potentially try and play a little bit with it, and then maybe get back to you on our first feels of playing with the thing as well, especially in windier conditions, which I think could be interesting. But for now, keep an eye on our socials on our website, and we'll, as soon as we get pricing and as soon as we get confirmation of when we'll have these stock, we will potentially get them up on the website even as a pre-order, and you guys can book to get one in, and then go from there. If you're in the area around Maroubra, yeah, feel free to, if you want to come in and have a look at it, feel free to get in touch with us, and yeah, you can have a little feel of it and see what's coming, and maybe try and work out how it's going to change the game or not.